Welcome to Vivid Talk Live. I'm your host, Gwen Witherspoon. I am the principal and chief visionary officer of Adam Red and Atlanta Branding Agency. I'm a brand strategist and a better life coach. Vivid Talk Live is all about your personal and professional development. I am here to help you learn a fresh way of thinking and doing for all you were designed to build. Normally, you can watch live Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on your favorite social networks or on my website at gwenwitherspoon.com, where you will also find the replays. But tonight, it is going to be pre-recorded. By the time this airs, the entire week, my husband and I will be doing a major photo shoot. So there was no way I was going to be able to do this live, but I wanted to make sure that we didn't miss an episode. So tonight, I have another question for you. Do you want to know how to spend your life celebrating? And that sounds delightful, just saying the word. The key is a lifestyle of rest. I call that living your life at play. Now, what would it feel like to release stress, to supercharge learning, to boost innovation, and even improve your relationships? That's what we're talking about tonight. So please, introducing yourself in the comments. Your questions are welcome. Ron will be driving, so I will be monitoring the chat. And I want to thank you so much for joining. Please share the link to invite your friends, tell them about the replays, and we'll get right into it after this. And make sure you follow at Gwen Fuchsias on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Periscope, and Gwen Witherspoon Coach on YouTube. And you can, I mentioned the website, gwenwitherspoon.com. This is where you can learn a little bit about me. You can also see our new blog posts. You can visit the store and purchase tools, accessories, events, everything that we have available. You can see my other brands. You can watch live, find all the social networks that we're airing on. Watch last week's episode that'll be featured at the bottom of each page of the homepage each week. And then you can also watch more replays and you can see all of our episodes. I think we're at 30, 30 episodes now. As of this taping, our new blog post isn't up, but I will have that up before this airs. And so at the end of each of the blog posts beginning in November, there is also a quiz. So when you enter that quiz, when you submit the quiz, you will be entered to win a Vivid mug. So we have a weekly drawing going on now. When you take the quizzes, not only are you going to learn some really great vital information about yourself very quickly, right? It's what you get instant gratification because you can answer a few questions, you get to the end, you get an answer. And in a couple of cases, I'm starting to give you some advice, give you some other resources. And so you just want to make sure that you get to the end of those blog posts and take each quiz. And every time you submit a quiz, you'll be entered to win. So if you've already got your Vivid mug, then we'll find something else fabulous for you. But so tonight's title is The Play Formula for a Lifestyle of Rest. Right? Just saying the word celebrate. How would you feel if you could spend your life celebrating a lifestyle of rest? I had never really put it that way before until I came up with that title. And I mean, doesn't that sound delightful? And I've got a bunch of definitions for you tonight. It's interesting. I spent most of this morning, could not sleep, woke up super early, and spent most of the morning, probably about 5 or 6 hours, just going through notes from old flip books that I had marked and organizing them. And so it's just amazing how these messages, these episodes, these talks have been forming over, years and years and years of study. And it's interesting to go back through those notes and just really start seeing it all coming together. Just when you don't, even though it came from me, it's interesting when you read the notes to just see how it's all happening and the connections that I see now that I didn't see before. So I always say that notes are like prophecies to you. And that's why it's so important for you to be able to capture your thoughts, your ideas, your inspirations, all those things in one central location. And so that was one of my motivations for the flip book. And one of the things that people that have been using it for all these years have told me that they really appreciate, that they have one place for everything and it's customizable. Like, it's especially this new version. We're doing a new version that you're going to be able to move things around and really, really customize it. And so I think it's going to be, I know it's a really powerful tool. And so I really want to encourage you to register for the Flip Productivity Workshop that we have coming up on December 27th. It's a 3-hour intensive. Whew, now, even that, a 3-hour intensive sounds intense, but the thing is, you need to set aside some time before we get to the new year. It's just a few days before the new year, so you can just kind of set your path and set the tone for the beginning of the year. I love press and reset on January 1. I love it. Even if it's not true, mentally, emotionally, everything feels like I get to start over. And so you get to do the same thing. And let's go into the new year together, fresh, with our thoughts organized. That's the first thing. Thoughts organized, and get some basic concepts under your belt that you can apply specifically to your personal brand, to your business, to your ministry, to your organization, whatever it is that you are building, so that we can go into the new year with expectation and prepared and disciplined, so we're ready to do the work that it's going to require for us to step into this next phase of building. Okay, but and so that was just, it really was an unintentional commercial, but I really, having this library of all these old flip books is just a really powerful tool during this stage of my life and my business. And so you need to have the same thing. And it's something about the flip book itself, having the structure and the sections, and one side for planning, one side for producing, having both of those things, those elements in one place, and having, I call them power tools. They're accessories that you can use to pimp your planner and customize it, and really just make using it much easier from day to day. Something about that's having that system and the concepts to kind of guide my planning, guide my productivity. Something about that is just special, because I mentioned I'm in the middle of redesigning it into a different, a more customizable system. So while I'm doing that, I don't want to start using one of my old flip books. I want to use one of the new ones, and they're still being printed and all of that. So in the interim, I have been using a notebook that I got at a convention, and it's just not the same writing down random notes. Having things in place and in order, there's just really no place for it. No replacement for it. You really want to be able to calm the chaos. I call it clear the brainstorm. And, our brains are constantly bombarded with information, and then it just leads to chaos after a while. And having a clear system of organizing your thinking, writing your vision, having a place to keep notes so you can find those reference points when you need them, so you can make the connections that you need, and you can make good decisions and create strategies to move you forward and that to guide your action. Nothing better, right? And I love helping you do that. So please go ahead and go visit my website, gwenwitherspoon.com. Go to the store and look for the Flip Productivity Workshop. You want to register for that as soon as possible, so we can get you that brand new flip book in the mail. Whew, okay, so the play formula. I looked up, I mentioned I got a bunch of definitions tonight. And so stick with me. Pull out a notebook until you get your flip book. Pull out some paper or just your notepad on your tablet, and write down some of these definitions. So play, the Oxford Dictionary defines just the general word play as to engage in activity for enjoyment and recreation rather than a serious practical purpose. And so that definition doesn't completely do it for me, but it does. It is a part of the puzzle. Okay. So when we talk about play in regard to children, play develops imagination, dexterity, and physical, cognitive, and emotional strength. Now, for adults, adults are encouraged to play as well, but for adults, play relieves stress, improves brain function, fuels imagination, increases problem-solving abilities, and fosters emotional well-being. You see a pattern, right? I personally define play as effectively doing while delightfully being. Right? What do they say? Everything I learned about life, I learned in kindergarten. So when we talk about children, the play for children is very strategic and very purposeful, right? And so if we remind ourselves when we were children, it'll help us to tap into that instinct to play. Children play naturally. It's not something we have to tell them to do. It's not an exercise we have to give them. They just go right to it. It's the first thing they do, right? So that should tell you something about how important play is as a concept and as a practice. So I really want you to give yourself permission to play. And I love this, to play with joyful abandon. If you see my Instagram profile description says, the last thing says I'm a joy collector. So I love living my life collecting joy. Oh my God, it's so amazing. It's a beautiful way to live, but you got to give yourself permission, okay? And once you do that, play is going to supercharge your learning, improve your relationships, and even heal emotional wounds. Play as an adult is going to supercharge your learning, improve your relationships, and heal emotional wounds. Play makes work more productive, and it boosts innovation. Okay, I'm reading. I have so many definitions, but I want you to get this, okay? So I'm going to go back. I want you to give yourself permission to play with joyful abandon because it's going to supercharge your learning, improve your relationships, and heal emotional wounds. This sounds like a miracle therapy, right? Doesn't it? If what else do you know of can do all of that? Right? The more I read it, the more amazed I am. But play makes work more productive and it boosts innovation. Play makes work more productive and it boosts innovation. So I want you to think about really developing this attitude and this whole idea of giving yourself permission. Because if I said to you, I want you to play around at work. If your boss came in and you were playing around, that would potentially cause a problem, right? But at the same time, I think what we as adults, we feel like we have to be serious. That first definition says engage in activity for enjoyment and recreation rather than a serious practical purpose. So we think we have to have a serious practical purpose because we are mature adults. I'm grown, right? But I want you to give yourself permission to play. And play is going to change all the things that you're doing self-care for, all the things you need to have vacation for, all the things that, you're asking Calgon to take you away for. All those things can be solved if you give yourself permission to play. and if you allow play to help you become more productive in your work. Now, and so more definitions. So work is defined as activity involving mental or physical effort done to achieve a purpose or result. Mental or physical effort done to achieve a purpose or result. Now, I in my notes earlier that I found years ago, I discovered what I call God's nature. Now, it may not be God's nature, so don't hold me to that. But I did, when I saw these three words, I felt like I was understanding God's essence, right? And that so God's nature is innovation, energy, and order. Innovation, energy, and order. So think about it. When God created everything, it said he created the fish in the sea, the birds in the air, the sun in the sky, the moon in the sky to govern the night, the sun to govern the day. And then he looked to himself, right? He spoke to the water, created fish. He spoke to the air, created the birds. He told the sun, he said he declared night and day and told the sun and the moon to rule. And then he spoke to himself and created man. Male and female, it says, created he them. And once he did all of that, it says he rested. So he created everything, spoke things into existence out of his innovation and his energy, his power. There was power in his words to create what he spoke. Okay. And then but in everything that he did, he created order, because the Bible opens by saying darkness was upon the face of the deep. So everything was in confusion. Everything was in darkness. So whatever darkness and chaos that you have going on, the work that you do is the answer to that, because your work is to create order. Your work is to create order, to minimize chaos, right? And so, that's, I know that idea has always amazed me when I think about everything that happened just from God's words, and that because he spoke to himself, that means that when he created you and me, that we have the same ability. We came out of him, so we have the same ability that he has. And so after he was his most productive, he rested. And so when we function in those same realms, in the realm of innovation, in the realm of energy, in the realm of creating order, when we function there, then we are also at our most productive. Okay. And I love, so the biblical definition of rest, when we think of rest, we think, I'm getting some sleep, I'm going to chill. For me, I spend a lot of time on the couch, we're going on vacation. We think, or we're going to take it easy. We're not going to think too hard, just lay back, read a book, something that's not too taxing. That's what we generally think of as rest. But the biblical definition of rest is, I looked up the Hebrew words, and there were two that stuck with me the most. It means to cease. So it means to cease from work in its whatever form you were engaging in at first, right? To cease from work, but then also to celebrate. And that's where I asked you, how would you feel if you could spend your life celebrating, right? Because rest is a celebration of creation. So if you're a builder, anything that you're making, you want to give yourself the time to celebrate what you created. You got to look at it and say, that is good, right? And when you rest like that, when you celebrate what you've created, it brings refreshing and it helps you to persevere. It helps you to withstand. It helps you to be still standing at the end, right? And I love this. Rest is not, It's not the rest of inactivity, which I alluded to at first, but of harmonious alignment. Now, I wouldn't necessarily use the word harmonious. However, I loved these two together, the adjective harmonious alignment of all your faculties. So rest is realigning all of your faculties, your affections, your will, your heart, your imagination, your conscience. It's aligning all of your being, right? That's rest. Rest is not just not working. Rest is it's almost like it's a regeneration, it's a refreshing, it's a recovery, right? So that's why you need to celebrate. You don't want to celebrate to the point of, just exhaustion where you pass out and that's not celebration. But you want to celebrate what you have created, what you are building, the progress that you are making, so that you can be refreshed and that all of your being can be realigned. That is rest. So just imagine what it would be like if you lived like that. Lived like that. Not just every once in a while, a few years ago, the last time I went on a vacation to ABC, it's what if you lived that way? It's regenerative, right? The Bible says 6 days. That's a principle. 6 days you should work. See, in America, we got it twisted. We work 5 days a week, and then we have supposedly 2 days of rest, 2 days on the weekend. But Bible productivity is 6 days, and then you rest. 6 days you celebrate, you create, you build, you work, you manifest. Then you celebrate, you regenerate, you refresh, you realign all of your faculties. That, if you lived that way, you'd be living your life at play. And especially if you are, I feel like that's the best opportunity that you can give yourself to, what did I say? To effectively to do while delightfully being. Effectively doing while delightfully being. Now, the other thing I was thinking about rest too is that also in Ecclesiastes, so this is not a Bible study, but these are all my favorite scriptures about work. Like, how some people, as soon as you get pregnant, everybody you see is having a baby. As soon as you buy a new car, everybody you pass by is driving the same car. Like, we look at the world through our own lens, and so work, productivity, faith, vision, all of these are recurring themes with me that you'll hear over and over again. And so when I read the Bible, I see all of those things. I see productivity, even though the physical word productivity is not in there. I see the word work in places that most people probably don't, because it took me years to see some of them. I was reading them over and over and then never noticed. So one of the things I love, so in Ecclesiastes says that basically tells us, Ecclesiastes 2:24 tells us that enjoying your work is basically a blessing from God. So if you don't enjoy your work, I hear from so many people who are working jobs. We feel like we have to work this job. Sometimes you might have to work a job so that you can meet your obligations, especially during this situation. So many people are out of work and looking for opportunities to make sure they can meet their obligations. So you might be doing something that does not feed you in any way, but other than food, right? Other than physically, or something that you despise doing, something that has just become lifeless and drudgery for you. And so that is not your purpose. That's not what you were put on this earth for. And so what if you could live your life at play? What if doing and working and being and existing could be a delight? What if every action that you took was an exercise in innovation? If it was, if you were, what did I say? If you were supercharging your learning, if you were just on overdrive, but not overwhelmed, but overdrive, and you were propelling into every day and not dragging. How beautiful would that be? And then it's a work should not, what I just described, work should not be anxious, hard labor. Oh, it just should not be. That's not what we were intended for. Now, you could be in a season where that's going on. And, when you start out, especially, in my younger days, I had jobs that I had one at an insurance company. It just felt like my soul was leaving me. It was just so dull. And so no, not 1 ounce or iota of creation, and the culture was very limiting, and they literally, you almost had to ask permission to get up to go to the bathroom, and you were in a cubicle, and it just no I was used to a creative environment, and having to work there was just the worst ever. My son is a very gregarious. He's one of those people who needs people. I like people. He needs to be around with people. And so if he was stuck in a cubicle having to work, it would be probably just the worst situation I can imagine for him, because personality wise, that is just so far outside of who he is, right? So work should not be like that, right? And so what I wanted to do is talk about the play formula. You've heard me say this before. I've created what I come up with as what I call the play formula. So strengths plus meaning. And every time I do this, it's hilarious because I hated math. I mean, I can do math because I'm organized, but I've always hated it. I remember growing up trying to, thinking I knew I was going to college. I was going to study art. And I thought, as soon as I get out of high school, I can't wait because I will not have to ever take math again because I'm going to be a creative. And of course, the first assignment at my first agency creative job, I needed to divide like 24 inches into 5 panels. I had to go to the accounting department to get them to do the calculation for me. It was really sad. And then they came out with computers. So thankfully, the computer solved that problem for me. But every time I see it, it's just so ironic that I, of all people, would try to create any kind of formula. And I never took any real science classes either until only what I had to. But anyway, so strengths plus meaning divided by time equals play. Strengths plus meaning. So you have to, we talked about strengths before, so I'm not going to dwell on that too much. But strengths, you could really kind of think of those two as your gifts. And, we all have gifts. We all have abilities. We all have talents that we were granted, right? They're whatever you are naturally good at doing. I call them your divine endowments, right? And sometimes those things are hard for you to recognize as gifts because they're so close to you. They're so personal. So you have just really taken them for granted. I think sometimes they're buried because they're just too close. What do they say? You can't see the forest for the trees. It's like you're just too close to it. So there's no way for you to even recognize sometimes. We have to dig and really pay attention and ask people and work and to really determine what those are. I love the Clifton Strengths Finder 2.0 online assessment. You can get that at my website as well. That's one of my favorites. It helps you identify your top 5 strengths. But there are a number of assessments out there where you can at least figure out what the DISC model. There's so many. So there's some tools that can help you figure it out and help point you in the right direction. But once you know your strengths, right, your top 5 strengths, your core motivations, your behavior, your typical behavior profiles, your unique thinking patterns, like any number of assessments can help you get started, to find some words to be able to explain, right, that you can start to build on. But I was thinking about this. What would make more sense if you had, well, and we're not going to talk about you. Let's say if you had a friend who had a natural ability to cook. They weren't formally trained. They were just gifted. They were skilled. They could get into a kitchen and make the most amazing meals and pastries or whatever. They just it was just a gift. And let's say they couldn't paint a lick, not one creative bone in their body beyond that. And that maybe they couldn't even draw a stick figure. So what would make the most sense for them to spend their time trying to develop and trying to get good at painting or drawing? Or would it make more sense for them to invest their time in getting more skilled at the thing that came natural? Right? So I hope the logical answer to you is it would make more sense for him to spend their time focusing on the thing that they're already good at, that thing that comes naturally. Develop that, create that, like refine it, go get trained in that. That would make more sense, right? Logically. But how many times have you kind of beat yourself up because you weren't good at something? Or even your children, they come in, maybe they're not good at math, and you're browbeating them because they're not getting math right, but maybe they are a creative person and they're doing this really well over here, and they can take their creativity and apply that to English or some other thing, right? How can they apply their creativity to math to help them and maybe they just do what they need to do to learn basic fundamentals, but they invest most of their time in the thing that they're good at. I'm telling you, if we do that, when we do that, we will get to a place where we literally make our weaknesses irrelevant. So the concept of focusing on your strengths, I can't really state that enough. But then, meaning we want to take your gifts and add that to the things that are most important to you, to your values. If you could define your values in 3 words, I've asked you this before, what would they be? And so when you do work, and I love this, when you do work that connects your head and your heart, it creates energy, right? Energy is created just in brain power. I think we talked about, I mentioned that, what was that about your brain when it comes to play? For adults, play relieves stress, improves brain function. So energy is created and it helps your brain to function better. I don't know all the science of it, but energy is created when you connect what's going on in your head to your heart. And then that energy activates your brain cells. It stimulates them. It increases your motivation. It increases your passion, and helps you to go after your purpose more intentionally and fully, right? So meaning is, it's just really a valuable component. If you know what your strengths are, but you're not using those strengths toward anything that matters to you, that's valuable to you, then you're missing a very important piece of the equation. So, but if you're using your gifts and you are building your life on increasing the strengths, the talents, the gifts that you already have, and you were using them in ways that was meaningful to you, that mattered, that was consistent with the things that you value, your core essential values, then you divide your time doing those things only, like you focus on that, or you emphasize that. Maybe you can't only do those things right now, but if you invest more time in it, after a while, you'll be able to let go of those things that don't fit in those 2 categories. And time. So time is equivalent to purpose. And I like to say that time is the currency of life. And it's something that you invest. We spend time, right? We always say, oh, how do you spend your time? Well, when you live this way, you're investing your time. And you're investing your time because you are expecting a return. You're expecting something. when you are working and it is hard labor and anxious, anxiety ridden, toil, there is you don't want to return on that. You are not fulfilled. You don't feel like you are achieving anything. But that is not something that you want to increase, right? But when you are using your gifts, your strengths, you're building your life on your strengths, developing your gifts, when you've added meaning and based on what's valuable and important to you in life, and you're dividing your time with those things to achieve your purpose, you are investing the currency of time that you have been granted. Because we've all, just imagine we've all been given a certain number of chips, and we've all been given those 24 chips every single solitary day. And we've all been given, even assigned a number of years, a number of days. And so you take those 24 hours times our assignment. None of us know exactly how long that assignment is. But, when we are investing the time that we've been given this way, then we can expect a return, a positive return on the investment. Okay. Not just spending time, wasting time, passing time. We don't want any of that. Losing time. We don't want any of that. We want to be living intentionally, purposefully. And so really, when you learn to spend your time at play, resting in the fruit of your labor, that's a better life. So when I talk about I'm a better life coach, I want to help you get a vision for every area of life so that you can have a better life. Whew. That's good. I don't have anything else to add to that. Again, today's topic was the play formula for a lifestyle of rest. And I pray that that becomes a reality in your life. And I'm going to keep pressing in. I'm living that way. It's a delightful way to live, for real. And I want to do more. I want to do more, become better, and just continue spreading the delight and the joy. You want to make sure you follow at Gwen Fuchsias on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Periscope, and Gwen Witherspoon Coach on YouTube. I'm always really excited that I actually remember all of those. But and then also go to gwenwitherspoon.com to watch the replays, to read the blog posts, to take the quiz, to shop in the store, register for the workshop, and contact me, and more. And also subscribe to Vivid Talk Live, to the newsletter, gwenwitherspoon.com/subscribe. We made it! Anyway, thank you so much for joining. Please share with your friends. You know somebody that's got a great idea, needs to pivot during this pandemic, is uncertain about the direction they should take, struggling with limited resources. I'm the queen of resources. And my goal is to help you understand who you are so you can understand what it is you've been called to build, and help you recognize the one problem that you were born to solve. And once you have that vision in front of you, you will have everything that you need to discipline your life, to master your habits, to become more productive, to live your life at play. That's what it's all about. So join me next week, Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, for Vivid Talk Live. I'll see you then.